Hello everyone. We're going to get started now with our final assignment here with for this unit, which is creating the demo beat with your original drum samples. There is a lot we need to get through, and I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible. I did just get home from school just a little bit ago, and I already recorded one take of this, and it was just way too long. So I'm going to try to make it simple. Yeah. All right. So I'm in Soundtrap, click import file, and then import all 5 of your original drum samples. These are the processed and cropped versions. So remember, first we made the sound, then you cropped it, processed it in Soundtrap. Then to finish it, you need to crop it one more time in Twisted Wave, so it's a small usable sample. So I've got my samples here. I'm going to rearrange these based on their frequency content. This is just something that I do and other producers do just to help keep things organized. So I'm going to move my open hi-hat to the top, keep my closed hat underneath, put the snare next, kick, and 808. So these are kind of the higher bright sounds. These are our lower frequency sounds. Next, you're going to set a 4-bar loop. And part of what we're going to need to do is write a rhythm on this kind of timeline arrangement view in Soundtrap. If we could load these samples into like a sampler instrument, we would be able to just kind of write using MIDI, but we can't, so we're going to do it this way. So let's start with the kick pattern. I'm going to solo that. I'm also going to set my grid to 1/16 so that whatever I press or wherever I paste the sample, it's going to lock to the grid for the step sequencer. So I've got my kick on 1. You do need a kick on 1. Other than that, you can be creative with your kick pattern. I would suggest clicking on, you know, somewhere on the screen first, and press paste. I'm gonna just do this really quick. See how that sounds. And as you're going, you might want to kind of mix. Like I can see this kick is maybe a little bit quieter than I would probably want it. Cool. So I got my kick. Next, I'm going to make a snare pattern. So the snare pattern, the requirement for the snare pattern is it either needs to be on 3 or 2 and 4 with some extra beats in between. So at least needs to be on 3 or 2 and 4. How do you find those? Easiest way to do that is to set your grid to a quarter note. So now anywhere I click my mouse is going to be locked to a quarter note beat. Those are the numbered counts of each bar. So you can actually see right here, this is 2, 3, 4. These grid lines that they're showing me right now, since I set my grid to 1/4, all of these are quarter note beats. So the numbered count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, beat, bar 2, beat 2, 3, 4, bar 3, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, so forth. So since I have kind of a faster tempo, I'm going to do a snare drum on 3. So I'm going to take this, put it on beat 3, copy it, put it in beat 3 in each bar. Let's hear what that sounds like. So now I'm starting to hear like an actual rhythm and kind of a groove or a pattern. So I'm gonna switch my pattern back to 16th notes. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit. I think it would sound a little better there. I'm gonna add a couple extra snare drum beats kind of in between where I have them, and one more time. Okay, it might be a little busy, but I like it, so I'm gonna keep it. Next, you're gonna do your hi-hat pattern. So for your hi-hat pattern, you're gonna wanna start with your closed hi-hat, just like we did the example rhythm for designing the sound. You're gonna have 3 choices to set it for the grid. You can either set it to quarters, eighths, or sixteenths, and then find spots where you can replace a closed with an open hat. So for my example beat, I did a 16th grid. So I'm going to do an 8th note grid for this closed hi-hat pattern. Click Control C to copy, and I'm going to paste this sample every 8th note. So I'm going to need to click the grid line and then press paste. If I just keep pressing paste, it won't all line up perfectly. So one thing that's kind of helpful, set up like a couple bars, copy those, paste them. Now I'm done. Cool. So let's hear what we got so far. It sounds pretty good, especially considering I'm just kind of clicking almost at random. So with the open hi-hat, a lot of times the open hi-hat like anticipates a snare drum beat, so that's kind of a good place to put it. So I'm going to again get rid of the closed hi-hat where I want the open hi-hat, shrink it down so it fits, and let's hear like what that sounds like. Yeah. So you hear that kind of sound. So it's like the hi-hat's kind of, yeah, setting up that snare drum hit. So I'm going to do that one more time here. And then maybe before the last snare hit. Cool. All right, not bad. I like it. So I've got my drum pattern set. Next, I'm going to write an 808 pattern. This is where, again, you're going to have some choices to make. Sounds right now just... So your hi-hat or your 808 should be set to the pitch C. So start by just kind of figuring out where you want them to go. You might need to shorten it down quite a bit to add a couple other notes. Yeah. Let's try that. See how that sounds. That's always an interesting thing. Yeah. Sometimes if you press the rewind and then press play, it gets like stuck in rewind. So yeah, that's how you fix that. Yeah, okay, cool. I really like that rhythm. That works out well. A lot of times the 808 and the kick kind of work together. So you can see actually a lot of times when my 808's starting, it's either right on a kick or just a little bit off of a kick. So we're going to need to change the pitches to make this sound a little bit more interesting. So it's not just all on the same note. So find a couple of your hi-hat pitches or notes to either pitch up, either +1 or +2, or down -1 or -2. And I'll let you know what key to set depending on your pitch. For this example, I'm going to pitch up 1. So that's moving it up 1/2 step. So if it was C, now it's C sharp or D flat. Let's see what that sounds like. So I'm going to do that here also. So I'm just going to change that pitch +1. So now I have a C and a D flat. So once we get to scale theory, this will all make perfect sense, but you're going to want to set your key to either D flat major or F minor. Those are going to sound good for this bass line. Even though it's not technically playing the tonic, you know, it's still going to sound good. So I'm actually going to do an F minor. That half step bass line definitely works better for like a minor pattern. Although you could make something that sounds okay major. And I'm going to add some instrumental loops. That's kind of cool. Let's try that. It's also gonna just unsolo everything, so now everything's playing at the same time. I lied, I don't like it. I don't want it anymore. All right, so I'm gonna add something else for piano. There's like a lot going on in that, actually. That's pretty cool. Let's try that. So, great. Yeah. So you want to add 2 instrumental loops, but no drums. Make sure that nothing you add has any kind of drums. So any instrument, though, guitar and piano are kind of good, so that's what I'm going to do. But you could also add a synthesizer loop. You could add vocals. You could add melodies. Just no drums. All the drums need to come from your own drum samples. So I'm going to add a little guitar loop in here. That's kind of cool. Let's try that. Okay, cool. So at this point, you can finish it. You know, just add any other loops that you would want to kind of make your basic beat. One thing that I'm suggesting you check out is this idea of parallel processing. I'll probably talk about later. The process for that is to duplicate a track and then make something different about the duplicate. So in this case, I'm going to actually play this in reverse. So I've got both happening at the same time. So here's what that sounds like. So it's really, you know, it blends together because it's kind of the same loop, but it adds a different kind of texture. I could also choose to change the pitch, so maybe even play it up an octave. Let's hear what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. I'm going to do the same thing for my other sound here. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to reverse it. And I might have them kind of trade off. So I'm going to have this one play the second half. This one will play the first half. Let's see what that sounds like. Cool. Definitely sounds like, you know, kind of scary and aggressive, but that's working, so I'll take it. So once you have a 4-bar loop, copy and paste that, Control A to select everything. Make sure you click your top line, paste it so that you have a 16-bar pattern. And then you can use the arranging concepts we learned last year to make this into like a full track. So I've got it divided up into 4 sections. I think I'm going to have it start with the reversed piano. I'm going to have the other loop come in next. Maybe we'll have this one come in here. Everything's happening here. I'll take out the forwards piano loop here. I'm going to cut out my 808 loops in the beginning and at the end. To start off, I don't really want hi-hats. So I'm going to cut off just most of them. Cut out a couple of these, cut out a couple of these. So again, just making sure that it kind of starts a little bit slower than it ends. Finding a couple layers to add in different spots. And maybe cut my hi-hats at the end too. All right, so now I should have like a whole beat. Let's hear what that sounds like. Cool. So actually, the forwards piano, I'm just going to delete that. It's just too much going on. But everything else still stands. And again, at this point, it's just up to you. You know, it's making beats with loops, and y'all are pretty good at doing that at this point. So we're gonna call it demo projects sample pack, and save it. And for this, you're gonna want to actually share the project with me, not send the audio, because I actually need to look at the project to make sure it's correct. So click share, type in my account, which is bmar, and invite. So hopefully that made sense. I've done a couple different versions of this. They've all turned out a little bit different. So just make sure, you know, you're creative, trying to do a little bit different than what I'm doing. Definitely pick different loops, because that's part of what makes this interesting, is different kinds of sounds. And you can also change your tempo. So I would suggest, though, change your tempo before you add any other loops. Just because since we're working with almost all audio samples, it can get kind of weird if you're adjusting your audio after you've already made your beat. So that's it. See you next time.